Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to a midweek roundup. Now I've got a total of 6 stories for you today, including a couple to wrap up from the weekend. Yes, I know it's Wednesday, and hopefully these will be out a little bit more quickly following a race weekend in future. But anyway, enough of that, let's get started. And Otmar Szafnauer said that Aston Martin is now pretty satisfied with how the FIA went about implementing the 2021 aero regulations, which he feels have hit his team harder than most. Now, over the weekend, Szafnauer had raised concerns around how and why the regulations were made for this season, even going as far as to question if everything was done legally and above board, and explained to Ted Kravitz that he wanted to see a change to the rules as soon as possible to make them more equitable, but discussions were needed first. Those discussions took place later in the weekend, and for now at least, Szafnauer was left satisfied with how they went. I think we are, at this point, pretty satisfied that all the correct steps were followed. We are still in discussion. We are just trying to discover what all the steps were to make sure that it was done properly and equitably. So, that is the reason for the discussion. We just have to have a good understanding of the entire process and be happy the process is equitable. Meanwhile, Toto Wolff believes Aston Martin had every right to ask questions as to why the new rules were implemented, but feels that they are simply, quote, collateral damage of a regulation targeted at slowing down Mercedes. It must be said, though, that despite concerns over their loss of pace, Szafnauer was happy with the team's one-lap pace at Imola and believes the race pace appeared to be a little better, but they are still working hard to claw back the deficit. Next up, George Russell has issued an apology to Valtteri Bottas over his reaction following the two drivers colliding during Sunday's race at Imola. Just in case you missed it, the two drivers came together on the run to the Tamburello chicane, resulting in a massive accident, which obviously saw both drivers retire from the race. The two exchanged words at the scene of the crash, with Bottas showing Britt the middle finger and Russell slapping the fin on his helmet, "Leave it." And following the race, as you'd probably expect, each driver blamed the other and the incident divided opinion in the paddock and among the fan base. And on Monday, the Brit took to Twitter to issue a statement which said, "Yesterday wasn't my proudest day. I knew it would be one of our best opportunities to score points, and when those points matter as much as they do for us right now, sometimes you take risks. It didn't pay off, and I have to take responsibility for that. Emotions can run high in the heat of the moment, and mine got the better of me. I apologise to Valtteri, to my team, and to anyone who felt let down by my actions. That's not who I am, and I expect more from myself." Russell went on to add that he learned a tough lesson and will come out of all of this a better driver and person, but is now focused on bouncing back in Portugal. Following the race on Sunday, whilst he doesn't believe either driver is 100% at fault, Toto Wolff feels that Russell still has a lot to learn, but doesn't need to feel he has anything to prove to the team because, quote, "One thing I can say since knowing Valtteri for 5 years, he's not trying to prove anything." Wolff also described claims that Bottas would have reacted differently had it been a different driver as BS. Moving on, Formula One has said that the new race at Miami for 2021 will be kept separate from the race at Austin. Over the weekend, and after years of talks, it was finally confirmed that the Miami Grand Prix will join the calendar for 2022 at a circuit around the Hard Rock Stadium. And although there's no official date yet, Stefano Domenicali expects the race to take place in the second quarter of next year. And if that were the case, some have gone as far as to speculate the Grand Prix could be paired with Canada sometime in June. And on the subject of where it could slot into a calendar and the race itself, Domenicali said, "We will keep them separate in order to give the right space for both. This is really crucial. We are proud as F1 because we are looking ahead. We are putting the foundations for an incredible future of F1, and this is a milestone that we all wanted." He added that F1 was happy having the two races in the US, and although nothing is off the table for the future, there are no immediate plans to look at adding any more. This season is set, all being well of course, to be run across a record-breaking 23 races, and if no races make way for Miami, we could be looking at 24 next year. However, Domenicali has said that the sport is aiming to have 23 races again in 2022, with Africa and potentially Vietnam on the cards in the long term, but that could spell bad news for races in Europe. When asked if some European races could make way for newer events elsewhere, he said, "I think it is a possibility because we need to be realistic. We cannot have 52 weekends in F1. But the good thing is that we have a lot of interest that will enable us to create unique events with the right value. We are going to mix the strategic need for F1 to develop in certain countries with the historical places where we know that F1 should stay. So that is the beauty of having this many opportunities in front of us. And it's this story that is the topic for today's question. Which race do you think will make way, or which race would you like to see make way for the Miami Grand Prix in 2022? And where would you also like to see the calendar expand to in the future? You can, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. It has been announced that the McLaren Group has sold its Woking headquarters, with the facilities being leased back to the team moving forward. The McLaren Technology Centre, which has been up for sale for a while now, has now been sold to US-based investment trust Global Net Lease, or GNL, with them paying £170 million for the facility. McLaren has signed a 20-year sale and leaseback agreement, and it is all expected to be finalised over the next couple of months. And of course, the deal will give the team funds to help recover some of the revenue losses suffered as a result of the pandemic. James Nelson, who is the CEO of GNL, said they were, quote, excited to announce that this world-class facility will become part of the GNL portfolio and are looking forward to, again, quote, a long-term partnership with McLaren and the benefits this transaction will have to GNL. Organisers of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix have said that they don't want Imola to just end up as a museum and are looking to keep the circuit on the Formula One calendar beyond 2021. Imola stepped in late last year to host a race following the cancellation of many events in 2020, filling in again this year when other events were called off. Italy's foreign minister told Sky Sports F1 that they will work to have a Grand Prix at Imola again next year, adding that it, quote, must become a fixed stop together with Monza. They are the history of F1. We don't want Imola as a museum, but as the future of F1. That was echoed by the president of Emilia-Romagna, who adds that he has already spoken with F1 over the prospect of the track returning next year. And finally, Williams has announced that it will honour Captain Sir Tom Moore by participating in the Captain Tom 100 Challenge across the Portuguese Grand Prix weekend. The team will aim to complete a total of 100 pit stops over the course of the 3 days, hopefully not all in the race, with the team at Portimao as well as people back at the factory in Grove contributing to hit the target. Williams wants to raise money and awareness for its official charity, the Spinal Injuries Association, and CEO Jost Capito said Captain Tom had inspired millions around the world with his message of hope, and the team, despite the challenging time many are facing, wants to take this opportunity to do something in his memory whilst also raising money for a very worthy cause. In April 2020, Captain Tom set out to walk 100 laps of his garden to raise £1,000 for NHS charities together. However, after capturing the imagination of the British public and indeed the world, he eventually raised a staggering £38.9 million. That is it though for this midweek roundup. Don't forget to let me know which race you'd swap for the Miami Grand Prix, and indeed your thoughts on any of the stories featured today down in the comment section. Now, I will be back soon with another video, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like as it really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.